Hello, everybody. I'm Derek L. Mitchell, and welcome to episode 11 of the Fearless Factory. Thank you for joining me, and today we are going to start digging to the core of fear. Now, over the past few months, I've talked about a wide range of things involving fear. I talked about the fear of uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, fear of the past, fear of free falling, fear of the storm, fear of the fire, fear of the launch. I've covered a wide range of things that we all are or have been afraid of at some point in time. But I was just scratching the surface of fear. Let me explain. One of the first lessons that I learned when I started on this journey is that fear is not as simple as I thought it was. It is much more complex than we give it its credit for. There are many layers of fear that impact us and our lives. And the first thing that I learned is that I had incorrectly identified my fear. When I stood up to give that first speech at Toastmasters, entitled "How to Conquer an Elephant," I said that the elephant in my life that I had to overcome and conquer was my stutter. That the lifelong battle that I've had with my speech impediment was my elephant, the crowning obstacle in my life. Well, I have since redone that speech, that presentation that I did at that first meeting to account for that mistake that I made. You see, I was just at the surface of my fear. I had no idea what layers were feeding what I was fighting on the surface. So today, I'm gonna go through all the levels of fear that I went through to finally get to the core of what my fear was and the source of the real battle that I had to engage in with overcoming and conquering fear. Now, as we start digging past the surface of our fear to get to the core of what we're really afraid of, I want you to think about the structure of Earth. I found that the structure of our planet is a perfect example and model of the process and journey that I embarked on just to identify the core of what I was afraid of. Now, at the surface is the crust, and I call that the symptom of fear. Below that is the mantle. I call that the scapegoat of fear. Then there's the core, and remember, it's two parts: the inner and the outer core. And the outer core is the source of our fear, and the inner or is the function of our fear. So in this episode, I'm going past just identifying what the source of your fear is. I'm going to step further to also to tell you how I used it and how you can use it to improve your life and to improve yourself. At the surface is the crust, or what I call the symptom of our fear. Now, this is what we hear, see, feel, and experience every single day. It's very visceral. It captures our senses, and therefore we are captivated by this symptom. It's what makes your heart pound. It what makes you break out into a cold sweat. It's what makes your pulse start racing in anticipation. For me, it was speaking in front of people, and to an extent, just speaking to people in general. That's what I identified as my biggest fear for the better part of my life. And as a result of that, despite the presentations that I did, the networking that I did, speaking up in class, or speaking up in a meeting at work, I still always had the same level of this fear and could never seem to quite break free of it or mitigate its impact on me. And that's because I was confronting the surface of my fear and not the source of my fear. And when you do that, any breakthroughs or progress that you have in that area is modest and short-lived. But the good thing about the symptom of our fear is just like the crust of the earth, it's thin, very thin, and it doesn't take that much digging to break through the crust and the symptom of our fear to break through to the next layer that's right beneath it and supporting it. The next layer is the mantle, or as I call it, the scapegoat for our fear. Now, the mantle is about 80% of the volume of Earth, so it's massive and solid rock, and a great symbol for what the scapegoat of our fear is, and that is the facts of life. It's just reality. It will not be changed or moved. I'm talking about a bad experience in your childhood. Some things that people have told you that have had a permanent impact on your self-worth and confidence that cannot be erased or taken back. I'm talking about a failure in your life that you never quite got over. I'm talking about a lifetime of dealing with a stutter that, despite the amount of therapy, the devices, pills, techniques, etc., is not going anywhere and will be in your life for the rest of your life. And some of you might have a similar scapegoat that you are burdened with as well. Now, often the scapegoat is too difficult, too painful, or uncomfortable to talk about or to even acknowledge. But when we can when we can no longer use our symptom as a distraction or an excuse, I guarantee you, we will pull out the scapegoat card in a second to excuse our fear, and while we allow it to control our lives. You see, I have a stutter, so I can't do this. I had a bad childhood, so I can't do this. This person said this to me, so now I have a right to feel bad about myself. I failed at this, so I can't try again. This disappointed me, so I can't have hope anymore. And that's what we pull out when the symptom has failed as a reliable distraction and excuse. And we use this thing that we know cannot be undone or changed to excuse why we allow fear to control our lives. And at this point, it's not even a resistance or a confrontation with our fear. It's simply a surrender to that's just the way it is. And it can't possibly be any different because there's one thing or a few things that has resulted in I fear won't change, so neither can I change or make a change in my life. Now we're at the core and the source of our fear. And just like the core of our planet, when you get to this juncture, you will experience intense heat and pressure. This is where the process gets even more uncomfortable and difficult, but you have to endure if you sincerely want to overcome the source of the fear in your life. Now, once I moved past the scapegoat of my fear and accepted that I could not allow and use I stutter as an excuse to not live the kind of life that I wanted, or to be the kind of person that I knew I could be. I had to dig deep and ask some tough questions and come up with some revealing answers. And after I asked myself why over and over and over again and kept probing deeper into my mindset and my fear, this is what I came up with. I discovered that the source of my fear is the fear of being inadequate and not enough for myself. Say it again. The source of my fear is that I was afraid that I would never be enough for myself. It wasn't a fear of rejection from other people or the opinions of other people. or a failure. It was all in here and all in here. A fear that I would never be able to look at myself and think about myself and feel good that I'm adequate and enough for the life that I'm living and that I want to live. And I believe that this is the reason that this fear of being inadequate for ourselves is the source of a lot of the problems in our culture right now. I believe that so many of us do so much of what we do to gain from other people what we can only and truly get from ourselves. So that's it. That is the core, the source of my fear. But I'm not done yet, because that's just the outer core. Now this is the bottom line, the inner core, the function of your fear. That's when you take the identity of the source of your fear and put it to action and use it. And this is where you take that information and reverse engineer yourself and your life. Now, this is not easy, and you will not want to do this part, but it is necessary to complete the process and to get the maximum benefit out of exploring all the areas and layers of your fear. Because once you can correctly identify the source of the fear in your life, you can go back and analyze the previous parts of your life to understand how you got to be who you are right now, and how the current condition of your life got to be what it is. And once you can do that, once you figure those things out, then you have the information and wisdom to reshape, change, or rebuild it. So I encourage you to explore all the levels of fear in your life. Be able to identify what the symptoms of your fear is. Dig past that to make peace with the scapegoat of your fear and those things that will not change and that cannot be undone, and that you just simply have to accept. Endure the heat and the intense pressure of getting to the core and the source of your fear, to understand what has fueled the anxiety, fear, and self-doubt in all areas of your life. And finally, use the function of your fear to reverse engineer who you are and the condition of your life in order to make some powerful and massive changes that will undoubtedly bring you calm, peace, joy, confidence, and ultimately happiness. And if you can get to the source, you We'll be empowered and equipped to conquer fear, to claim confidence, find your voice, and live life exactly as you want it. And I will see you on the next episode of the Fearless Factory.